This is the Real Life Blue Stories podcast with the one and only Meg Hall, joined by a phenomenon. She is the incredible woman. So I've got Dee Chambers, aka Dee Loves Sports, with me. She is a
Hey.
sports personality, a host of Sports and Coffee on Twitter Spaces. If you haven't joined it, please do. It will change your life. And you do the Steelers chat on YouTube. I think I got it all right. I think
Yeah,
I got
you
all
got
of
it
that.
all. The Steelers chat, D Love Sports on YouTube is just a bunch of different things throughout the year, but Steelers chat is a big
Yeah,
one. So yeah, and Sports and
awesome.
Coffee, my baby.
That is your baby. We're going to talk about that too because I want to hear the backstory on this. All right, so
Sure,
let's talk
sure.
about run a show. So we're going to talk about how you got your start, what you do now. We're going to talk about coffee and sports. We'll talk about Steelers Colts. I wouldn't call it a rivalry, but it's more of a beatdown. But we'll talk about it. And then we'll do this or that, which is 5 questions for you of random sort of things. They're Steelers related, so you should like those.
Okay.
And then we'll do blue light special. So that's just a portion of the podcast where you get to ask me any questions that you like, whether it could be sports related or non-sports related. So,
Okay.
all
Okay.
right.
I'm
So let's,
excited.
yeah.
Thank you for
I try
having
to
me,
make
by the
these
way.
fun. No, you're welcome. You're welcome. Listen, I only get the best of the best. That's how I try to have it roll.
I am
So,
honored and flattered.
all right. So let's talk about how did you get your start? Like, where did this passion come from? Were you born into it? Because I feel like a lot of folks that like are Steelers, Ravens, like Browns fans, Packers fans, they were born into this sort of thing.
Yeah, well, kind of, right? So my dad is a big Steelers fan. And originally when I was little, I kind of liked the Cowboys, but I didn't know any better. And so he had the Steelers. I had this fake love affair with the Cowboys. And when they lost that Super Bowl to the Cowboys, I felt so bad. So bad for him that I secretly converted over to being a Steelers fan. Nobody knew. But
Okay.
you know, so as time went on, I was a Steelers fan, and the passion grew.
Okay.
Just as I got more into the sport, actually knowing what was happening, the plays, not just cheering when I thought something happened, but actually knowing the game, it grew. And I'm just competitive just by nature, so it was out of hand, it was out of control. Nobody wanted to go to games with me.
So you were that fan that was like, "Oh, did you
Yeah,
see
I
that? This
was
is what
that
this was."
fan. I've toned down a lot. As I've gotten into media more, I've toned down that side of me a lot.
Okay. So I heard you mention media. So what do you do now? How did this fandom like transition you into media?
So even before the football love, I always wanted to do radio. Radio was like the first thing I was like, oh my God, when I grow up, I want to be on the radio. I want to do that. I interned in radio and I realized how much money they made. And I was just like, yeah, maybe not, So radio wasn't just like this lucrative thing. And I saw how much and how often they had to work to actually pull a decent salary. And I was just like, that's a lot. I got to work on the weekends. I got to go to a club. I got to do, you got to do all these things to kind of make a great salary in radio. And my mom was just like, you need to go to school, you need to go to healthcare, you need to do. So I kind of, pleased my mom and also decided to find ways to make more money in other industries. And I ended up in IT. But when my love for football and media never went away, it just
Okay.
grew. And then my career just kept me on the road a lot. And when the pandemic hit, I was really able to sit and focus and actually produce solid content. I wanted to do it prior, but I just didn't have the time. So with the world kind of standing still, I was able to sit in front of my phone and create and give the world my opinions, my feedback on what was happening with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it just grew. And I'm thankful. I'm so thankful for the pandemic and having that space and opportunity to create because I've been wanting to do it for so long.
That is awesome. I would not have
Mhm.
pegged you for an IT person at all.
Yeah,
But
that's my 9 to 5.
okay, I dig it. I dig it. Okay, so you were creating content. Is that how like coffee and sports came to be? Like how did that come out of, I guess, this passion that you found during the pandemic?
So sports and coffee was just sounding random. So I had been on Clubhouse during the pandemic a lot. And I was always in I guess they call them rooms on there. They don't call them spaces like on Twitter. But I was on Clubhouse a lot and, developed a love for talking sports with people. And then someone introduced me to Twitter and was like, if you're going to do sports, you really need to be on Twitter. It's a big space for like Steelers fans. So I was like, okay, well, I ain't going on Twitter with my Twitter from 2010. Like, I got to create a whole new Twitter if I'm going to go on Twitter, because I don't know what I was saying back in 2010. So I created a new Twitter. At the time, it was the Steelers chat, me, and then now it's just D Love Sports. But I went on and like found some of the Steelers community, found the Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins community. They were like really welcoming, and they were like one of my first spaces I've ever been in. So the Dolphins fans, I would go in there and I would talk, we'd talk trash. Of course, we'd talk about Minkah Fitzpatrick since he used to play for them. And
Yep.
it was just, it was fun. So in the like one morning, it was during the playoffs last year, I got up and I was just like, you know what, we're gonna do sports and coffee. So I started a space, and then some of my Dolphins friends came in, and then more people would trickle in. It would be like maybe a good 16 to 20 of us, and we just sit in there and we talk for however long. It didn't have a time at the time, so it would go, however long it would go. And it continued. Like I was consistent with it. I did it like Monday through Friday or whatever, and it just grew. It kept growing, and we could have anywhere from 200 to I don't know. Like I think we had like 900 or 1,000 people in
Wow.
the space. I think the biggest space I think we've had in one day without like replays, I think it's like 1,800 people. So
Holy
that's a
cow.
lot of people to come in a space. And sometimes we go over. We don't really go over the 2 hours as much as we used to, but we try to stick to that 9 to 11 time frame. But we've had some pretty successful shows.
Okay, yeah, so let's talk about that. So I
Mhm.
know I've been in there. Obviously, you've seen me in there a little bit, and I'll
Yeah,
dabble whenever I feel like I've got something to say. But
yeah.
who, like, I guess, what sort of people have been in there? So is it like regular sports fans? Have you gotten former players, current players, anyone of that nature, coaches, maybe even?
Yeah, we've had former players like Jimmy Smith from the Jaguars, Jacksonville Jaguars from back in the day. We've had him in. Antonio Cromartie comes in sometimes and talks and listens. We've had Steve Weish come on as a guest from NFL Network and talk. Who else have we had? I feel like, and we've had speakers come in and talk about like we've had a lady. She does like legal talks about the NFL, and she's come on when we've had discussions about Colin Kaepernick, the big Deshaun Watson stuff. She'll come in and give like legal takes and interpretations of things that we may be confused about. We've had all types of things. One of my favorite is like Uncle Luke. Everybody knows Uncle Luke for his music, but he comes in on the show pretty often and comes in and gives his take. He's really big with football in Miami, like high school football and stuff. So and he has a relationship with like Prime, Coach Prime, Dion, and stuff. So it's great to get insight from him when he comes on the show. Who else have we had on the show? But I know that I'm trying to go back to doing the guest thing because I know sometimes we can get unruly. But yeah, we've had some names come through.
Yeah, yeah. I think I was there for Coach Prime coming in. I thought that was really, really cool.
Oh
Sent
yeah,
it
we did it.
to
We had a special show with him and Coach Willie. Oh gosh, I think it's Simmons. I can't remember his name. I don't know why. I always can never remember his name, but he's the coach for FAMU. We had me and Coach Chris. We did a special with Uncle Luke to help facilitate that conversation, and that was dope. Like,
yeah.
how many people get an opportunity to facilitate a conversation with Deion Sanders? It's dope.
Yeah, yeah. No, I sent that. I remember like hopping in that space and sent it to my husband because he's a big, big Deion Sanders fan. And I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, hop in here like ASAP. There's good stuff,
Yeah.
being talked about here. So, okay, cool. So any plans for sports and coffee like this year that like you feel like, hey, we're gonna, make this grow larger? Will this be
I
like a
do. I want to
continued thing for you?
incorporate more women. I think it's important to share the platform. It's my baby, but it's not about me. That's the beauty of the show is like everybody, even if I don't want to hear it, as painful as it can be to hear some people's opinions sometimes, it's not about me. It's about people getting the opportunity to speak and say, even if their opinions are just like out of this world wrong and, crazy. I want to give people an opportunity to say it. Everybody doesn't have to agree. We can all agree to disagree and we can move on to the next person. But I want to give more women an opportunity to host a show, to come in and, just get familiar, facilitate conversation, moderate. I want to give more women opportunity to host it. So I'm looking forward to doing that in the future here.
That sounds cool. Put me on the list if you need, if you want to put folks on there. I'd be
if you want to host please come on. I'm always down, especially for women. Like, I know the guys can get rowdy, but I love having women come up there and host.
Yeah,
so, you tell me what days work for you.
All right. We'll put it on the schedule. So you talked about as well, like, just, hey, using Twitter Spaces to grow, and you brought up, having women speak. And I think that was a lot of how I got involved in Twitter Spaces was last off season, looking for, anybody willing to talk, football. We're in the dead of off season in June, and you're just like dying for some sort of football.
Something.
Yeah, so I just started hopping in random Twitter Spaces and listening, and I think it was ladies' night that I like hopped into, and it was women in there talking, football, and I was like, this is a thing, like,
yeah.
And before I knew it, it was like, it was a couple of hours in there, and then I stumbled upon Sports and Coffee, Ashley Baker, Chris, Mark Gunnels, like all of them stumbled, and I was like, oh, this is a whole world, so yeah, I definitely agree with like doubling down there and really just finding folks to talk, and more women being able to talk as well. Because the guy spaces are great. Like I've always felt welcome in there, but it's nice to talk with ladies who are like, oh, you like ball too? Cool. Like let's chat through it. So
yeah, and then we got to keep these guys in line. They get all macho and they want to argue, and we got to keep them all in line.
Yeah, those spaces do get a little rowdy, just a little bit. So I appreciate it going into the spaces with ladies. So, all right, let's transition a little bit. Let's talk about these Steelers and Colts. So I had to go look up some of these stats because I was like, oh, isn't this a rivalry? Because I feel like Steelers always have the Colts number, and they do.
I was like, I'm trying to remember the last time we lost to the Colts. You can refresh my memory on that because I cannot recall.
It's a while. It was a while ago.
Yeah,
like maybe 2014. I'm probably somewhere in that range.
That's long.
But you guys are 26-6 all time against us, and I'm like, oof. The last time that you beat us was last season, or this past season. It was on November 28th. You won 24-17. Kenny Pickett carved us up, like it was nothing. So I wanted to ask you. Hey,
I can't believe I wasn't at that game. That's one of the stadiums I want to go to. I cannot believe I wasn't there.
Gorgeous stadium, absolutely gorgeous stadium. You're gonna love it when you go. Let's talk about Kenny Pickett from that game. So, what did you see out of him that said, "Hey, this could be, we could potentially have our quarterback of the future"?
Well, I think I saw it from multiple levels from that team. But Kenny Pickett, after that the bye, it was really rough for him. But I said what I saw from him, like, we played the Miami Dolphins, and it was, we had an opportunity to win the game. The defense kept putting the ball back in our hands, and I'm like, if he can get a good 2-minute drill, then he's our guy. And if he cannot, then we have problems. Because the history of the Steelers, you give Ben a 2 minutes left on the clock, he's liable to drive, get the team down there and get the ball in the end zone. He's done it so many times over and over again. And this team, so often and none, relies on that 2-minute offense. But what I saw with Kenny was just an improvement on getting the ball there. Not just him, but the run game too. I don't recall what the rushing yards were for that game, but just all in all, I think the team offense, all the components really came together and rallied together to get it done. But his decision making obviously had improved. His weapons, him using his legs. I think his legs are a great weapon, and him rolling out and making those last minute decisions, whether it's to a Pat Fryermuth or, dumping it off to a running back or whatever. I think he's done better making those decisions.
Okay. I want to ask, do you still think he was worth the first round pick?
Given what we saw from all the other quarterbacks in the draft, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes. I drank the Malik Willis Kool-Aid. I'll admit it. I drank the juice. I drank the everything. I think the Steelers did a good job distracting themselves. I don't think they thought Kenny Pickett was going to be there at 20, because so many teams or so many people on TV said that Kenny Pickett was the most NFL ready quarterback. That was what you heard out of that draft class. He was the most ready. But seeing how he's leading this team, seeing him at camp, just seeing the things that I saw, I'm like, okay, I wasn't immediately ready for him to get on the field because there's so many things that you have to learn when you come into this league and at this level. Not saying that he wasn't professional enough, but there's just small things that you got to learn. So I was ready and willing for him to sit behind Mitch and learn as much as he could. But fortunately for him, he got an early start. And what was that, week 3, week 4? He started.
Yeah. I mean, I think most sports folks would have called that one. I think I had the under being 6 games, and yeah, I think it was right in that realm.
I didn't want it to happen, man. I was probably the only one that was just like, no, not now, no. I just feel like that even if he started the first week, I feel like he still would have struggled. I just like he still struggled. It took him, like I said, until after the Miami game to really get rolling. And I don't think Mitch got a fair shot. I really don't. The offensive line played better throughout the year. The quarterback played better throughout the year. Even when Mitch came in post, his start, he played better. So I just think overall the whole team had a lot of work to do. But because you had a first round draft pick and a QB, the fans were not trying to hear that. We need to win. We need to win now. You need to put Kenny Pickett in, and it just was what it was. So.
I mean, I think that you came off so many years of success with Big Ben. And speaking of Big Ben, the game that sticks out so much in my mind is from 2017. It was a beatdown. It was 51-34 Steelers over Colts. Big Ben had
who was your quarterback?
It was Andrew Luck at the time. Yes. But he
was starting.
Yeah. It didn't matter. Big Ben was 40 of 49 for 522 yards and 6 touchdowns.
That was when he had back-to-back 6 touchdowns? Is that the season he had back-to-back games with 6 touchdowns?
Yes.
Man, what a time.
Oh, what a time. So yeah, when you come off something like that from Big Ben, like obviously you can't have those same sort of expectations for Kenny Pickett, but it just shows you the possibilities, obviously. And in my mind, when I think of Steelers quarterbacks, like obviously Big Ben is the most recent, but I think can Kenny Pickett get to that sort of level where he is just absolutely shredding, teams? I think he definitely showed it in this game that we saw in November, where he just, anything he wanted, it was happening on that field.
I just, man, I think so. But also, like I said, if they can continuously have a run game, and you saw that towards the end of Ben's career, they didn't really have a run game. They had a better one his last year than they had the year before. But the threat of having a run game makes your quarterback so much more lethal, in my opinion. But if they know you can't run the ball, you're not going to run the ball, it takes so much away from you. So I think that he has the potential, especially with weapons like Pickens. Like, are we like what? That guy is phenomenal. So with guys like that and a Deontay Johnson and a Pat Fryermuth, like with the weapons that they have and the ability of the Pittsburgh Steelers to just draft great receivers, I don't see how not. I don't see why not. I think he'll probably be a quarterback here for a long time if he can stay healthy. And he'll be successful. Yeah. I know Ben was, it's hard to have a quarterback play for as long as he did, but we got a little bit of mobility too. So hopefully that can keep Kenny upright.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you'll be fine. You also have Mike
Mhm.
Tomlin at the helm. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Best coach in the
Mike,
league, if you ask me.
I mean, he's one of my favorites. I'm sorry, Colts fans. But he make you run through a brick wall for him. That kind of guy. So I think Kenny Pickett will be just fine. Just fine.
Yeah, he'll be all right. Yeah, he will. He will.
All right. Let's talk about this or that. So I got 5 questions for
Okay.
you. They're I think they're easier questions, but we'll see what you think. All right, so let's
Okay.
start with a softball one. Original uniforms or your throwbacks? Like current uniforms, or do you like the Bumblebee throwbacks?
I have one. I like the Bumblebee. It's actually
Yeah.
Antonio
Oh,
Brown one.
I see.
I
Yeah,
like the Bumblebee. I'm probably one of the few people that do. I like the Sunday white, and I like these
yeah.
the
Okay.
color rush. So, but
Okay.
I do like the Bumblebee. So I'm gonna go with the Bumblebee. The regular black ones, they're just meh. I've seen them so many times. So I'm gonna go Bumblebee.
All right, we'll take Bumblebees. All right. Terry Bradshaw or Big Ben?
Big Ben. No.
Big Ben. All right, easy
Yeah.
one. All right.
Mhm.
Uh
Not too high on Mr. Bradshaw. I didn't live in that time in that era, so that's why it's easy for me.
Okay. All right. Let's go the late great Franco Harris or Jerome Bettis.
Ooh, that's hard. Franco's such a was well, he was such a sweet person. Man, I don't know. I guess I'll go with Jerome. I really want to go with
Okay.
Franco because I've actually met and interacted with Franco. So I gotta go with Franco because
You got to go
he's just a sweet
Franco.
person. I have to.
Absolutely. That's a good answer. I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. All right. So not the same players, but I figured this would be a good one to ask as well. James Harrison or Troy Polamalu?
Troy Polamalu. Troy
Troy.
Polamalu is my GOAT. Like he's my Steelers GOAT. And then right behind Troy is Minka Fitzpatrick. So Troy Polamalu. So if you
Okay.
would have asked me Troy or Minka, I'd have been like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. I would have been
I
like,
started to. I started to.
I would be stuck. So Troy Polamalu is the GOAT. The Pittsburgh
Okay.
GOAT right now.
All right. I like that one as well. All right. Last one. Hines Ward or John Stallworth?
Hines.
Hines. Okay.
Hines
Okay.
for
See,
sure.
that
That smile.
wasn't that bad.
No. I'm telling you, if you would have hit me with Troy and Minka, I would have been stuck. I'd have been like, get somebody else to do it. I can't.
So I do have a bonus one for you. So speaking of Hines Ward, he coached this past weekend in the XFL.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you because I think I saw you and Ashley Baker at an event
Yeah, we
over
were
the
at the
weekend.
DC Defenders game. We covered that game over the weekend. But yeah, I'm excited. There's actually a game on right now. The XFL's right now, so I'm excited about the XFL. But yeah, Hines Ward, he's coaching the San Antonio somebody's.
Brahmas, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm probably butchering it, but yes,
yeah. It's
yes.
San Antonio something, but Brahams, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So how was that experience with like covering the XFL? Was it as exhilarating as NFL games for you?
It was great. The fans were so into it. I don't know if it was just like the DC fans, but DC loves their sports. Okay, like they go all in, and this is their football team. I know you have the Washington Commanders, but they're not in DC. They don't play in DC. They play in Maryland, but they don't play in DC. So this is DC's team, the city itself. Okay, they were riled up. You would have never thought the XFL had been missing. These people, they were there. They were in attendance. They were throwing lemons. They made this long beer snake out of a bunch of cups, and the security took the beer snake away. They got pissed. They're throwing lemons on the field. At the end of the
Oh
game,
my
they're
God.
throwing water bottles. I've never seen anything like it. You would never see this at an NFL game. It was just amazing to see. Like these fans the defenders started out slow and the fans were booing them. And then the defenders just started. I think they got 2 interceptions. And won the crowd back over. The poor Sea Dragons, they were getting lemons thrown at them. Poor guy.
How do you get lemons into the game? That's the first question. It's like,
So
where
I
did these
thought
lemons
so.
come from?
Me and Ashley were like, I think that they have lemons in like the drinks because they were serving drinks. I was like, are there lemons in the drink?
Oh,
And that they're throwing. I can't tell you, but I'll tell you they probably won't have lemons. If they were having lemons in those drinks in the stadium, they probably won't have them anymore. So I think they were serving like lemonade, and then they were like mixing liquor in them. I saw the guys making drinks like in the stands, meaning the people that were
okay.
selling them, but I couldn't recall seeing a lemon. But Ashley said she saw lemons in the drink. So I think that's where the lemons came from. But I'm gonna
Okay.
tell you right
All
now,
right.
they might not have no lemons anymore. They might not
Okay.
have them no more. But we'll see what happens. But it was, if you see any content from like an ESPN or anywhere about the DC Defender games, if you go in the comments, you're gonna see people with like lemons. They're commenting lemons because it was it was
Lemons.
crazy. I ain't never seen that
Okay.
movie.
Wow. All right. All right.
Mm.
You know what? I'll take it. I'm taking it. I'm sure the Beehive is also happy about seeing lemons on the field too. You
Right,
probably see a bunch
right.
of a bunch of lemons. All right. So we've come to the portion of the podcast of this blue light special. This is any questions for me, any topic. You're more than welcome to go for.
Okay, great. This is awesome. So, of course, as women, we have to balance so much, when it comes to our careers and the sports media thing. Whenever your 9 to 5 is, if you're doing media full time or part time or whatever, how do you balance your life, your day to day life, your husband, and your passion? How do you juggle that?
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I would say it starts with self-care.
Mhm.
So I am really big on taking myself to the gym. Now that I have short hair, regularly go get my hair cut every 2 weeks, which
Mhm.
is great as well. I would also say a really supportive partner is part of that. My husband, shout out to him. He's a real MVP. Like anything I've wanted to do in this, he's been like, "Yep, what do you need from me?" And I appreciate that so much. And I actually was just talking about that with him today, and he's like, I'm all in because I believe in you. And that was such a like heartfelt statement. And I just really didn't know how to take that. But I really genuinely, it really made me smile, honestly.
Mhm.
Because this is something that came out of just passion last year, kind of
Mhm.
same way, similar stories like, hey, this is what I like to do. And I create content in my 9 to 5. So it was one of
Mhm.
those where it was like, okay, let's just take the professional, content creation skills and apply them here. And when it's fun, it becomes just okay. How do I squeeze it in? But I'm
Yeah.
the happiest when I'm writing, happiest when I'm creating, happiest when I'm doing, podcasts like this. So yeah, it's just, where I've started finding time in my day. Where can I squeeze in a podcast? Where can I
Mhm.
squeeze in like, writing? And I think, yeah, having a support system is really, really critical to doing that, especially because not just a husband, but I have 2 kids as well.
Yeah,
So
your family. It's
yeah,
it's really become a thing. Like it's so hard for women to just one have a family and a career. But then if you have a career where it makes you be on the go, like how do you manage? How do you manage all of that? How are you a mother, a creator, analyst, host, whatever, writer, and a wife, all of that in one. How can you do it all?
it's yeah. There's some days I surprise myself honestly about the way that I find time, but again, like I said, it's just I find it in my schedule. Okay, I've got an hour here, I've got 2 hours here, and I'll tell you a little secret. I usually wait till my children go to bed, so I at
Mhm.
least have like a quiet space and thought. I will put on music. I'll do whatever I need to, but yeah, I find the space and time, and I always find that I'm re-energized. Like I could be exhausted, but if I have if I got a
Mhm.
podcast or I've got writing to do, yeah, all of a sudden I've got energy and I will find it and kind of channel that. So
Yeah, people are like, when you gonna have? Because I'm like, when do I have time to have a kid? Like, so, and I just like I applaud all of the women that are doing it as mothers because I'm like, how? Like, I applaud y'all, man. I don't know, I don't know. I I
yeah.
I applaud you.
Yeah, we got a really good comment
Um,
from Barbershop Sports Talk podcast. I
Hey
did an episode
y'all.
with them too. But Maestro and Trey, yeah, they said balance is key to splitting time between family and content creating / sports / media. Yeah, like you got to find the
Yeah,
balance.
it's so
Got to.
important, man. And I always ask people because I want to get better at it. It's been just me and like my passion. I've been so focused on everything in front of me. Like I have to remember, like, okay, wait, I need to spend time with, my family. I need to spend time with my friends. Like everybody, wants a piece of you, but you've poured so much into this thing. You kind of sometimes I can be neglectful, not purposefully, but
Yeah.
but yeah, so I applaud you for being able to do it all.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Appreciate that. Any other questions for me?
So what if someone called right now and said, Meg, we have this awesome opportunity, drop everything and run, what would it be? What would that opportunity
Ooh, oh boy. Um, NFL Network. Yeah.
be? If
So I
they
would
called,
probably say, yeah, if they called
if
and
they
said, Meg,
called
we
and
have
said what? Like write for us, come host, like
right
what
for
would it be?
us. I honestly, my dream, I think, would likely be, yeah, I think probably either reporting for them, analysts. So, like, yeah,
Mhm.
either sideline reporter or either being an analyst, on TV. Yeah, and this is
Awesome.
not NFL Network, but on Fox Sports. So Joy Taylor is like the dream for me. Whenever I see her, I'm like, she is just like she is a lioness in her own like way,
Yes,
and
I
I just
love
absolutely
the way
love
she
her.
comes out and just her energy and like she gonna talk it and she delivers it her way and and her style. I love it. She is and she's a Pittsburgh girl, so I love Joy Taylor.
Yes, she is a Pittsburgh girl, yeah. But
Mhm.
yeah, something on that nature. I mean, I don't know if you've seen previous podcasts I did. So I did a podcast with called Indie Intercept Podcast last year. We did that podcast with several staff that was writing with me, and I did host, for that podcast. And
Mhm.
being in that role and facilitating the podcast, facilitating the conversation, that sort of thing, like I flourished in that. Like that was so much
Yeah.
fun to be able to do that, come up with the topics, things like that, navigate, those sorts of things, and seeing, Joy do it in kind of that same sort of way. She doesn't, always host or things like that, but the way that she commands the room and the way that she talks and is again super confident what she says, yeah, that's the standard for me.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I look at like a show like with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. But I just think like the Jenny doesn't have an is it still Jenny that like kind of like the host or
I
Jenny
I
Kraft?
think
I don't
so. I
know.
haven't
But
watched it
anyway,
in a
whoever,
while, long while.
yeah, I don't watch it that often, but I think I would need more of a say so. Like, I can introduce the topic and let them run wild, but I got something to say too. Like you got to give me a minute or two to talk. Like I have to say something. I have an opinion too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I could just be like just host. Like I don't think you're gonna
Mm-mm.
get me in just that role. Like I'm going to have to say something,
I
especially if
got
it's
an
a topic
opinion.
I know about. Yeah, you're gonna have to
Yeah.
give me the floor.
Now, if I don't have
Okay.
one, if I don't have an opinion, I will be quiet. I'm not one of the people that just talk for the sake of talking. If I don't have nothing to
Yeah.
say, I'll let y'all go at it.
Same. Okay, those were awesome questions. I really, really like those. That was good. That made me think a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
good. I did my
All
job.
right. All right. So that is the end of the podcast there. Nice and short and sweet. Wanted to make sure that I made your time
Yeah.
efficient. Tell the people, where can they find you on any social media or any channels?
Oh, I was supposed to put on there, but everything is D Love Sports. So at D Love Sports, just like you see it on here, DEE Loves Sports. YouTube, it's D Love Sports. On Instagram, it's D Love Sports. On Twitter, it's D Love Sports. If you just happen to be on TikTok, I'm there too. D Love Sports on everything. So that's where you guys can find me.
All right. All right. Easy enough. Easy enough. Awesome. All right. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram underneath the Megan Hall. That is THE Megan Hall. Also on YouTube, it's Real Life Blue Stories for the recordings of the podcast if you don't watch it live. And because I like to do all the things, also on TikTok, Real Life Blue Stories on there. And of course, finally, for more Colts content from me and the entire staff, go to coltswire.usatoday.com. Yeah, I think that's everything. I think I got
All
it all.
right. Go
All
Colts,
right.
minus when they play Pittsburgh.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And you have been listening to the Real Life Blue Stories podcast with Megan Hall. We will see you next week.